Hello fellow songsters, this week I listened to nothing but Elvis Costello and tried to write a similar style song. Now if you're unfamiliar, Elvis Costello wrote rock songs with a pinch of new wave and a little bit of punk rock. He had big songs like Everything Means Less Than Zero, Red, and of course my wife's favorite song, Allison, and one of my favorites, Pump It Up Until You Can Feel It, Pump It Up. And of course, Radio, all of which can be found on his first two LPs, My Aim Is True, his very first one, and his critically acclaimed second album, This Year's Model. If you can, check out these two albums. I highly recommend them. And today I'm going to teach you the 5 tips that I learned while listening to Elvis Costello. Tip number 1, let's start where Costello shines the brightest, and that would be the lyrics. If I could sum up his whole writing style with one word, it's clever. I said, I'm so happy I could die. She says, drop dead and left with another guy. Now that's funny and clever, using two popular phrases, but butting them up against each other to make this sort of clever, heartbreaking line. You snatch a tune, you match a cigarette. She pulls the eyes off with a face like a magnet. I don't know how much more of this I can take. She's filing her nails while they're dragging the lake. Costello has said about his songwriting that he wants to invite the listener into his story rather than just shouting a chorus that doesn't have a lot of meaning. So while trying to write a song like Elvis Costello, I considered more storytelling narratives with clever rhymes. That will get you on the right track. Tip number 2. Vocal delivery. Costello's voice is kind of an acquired taste, like, I used to be disgusted. It has a lot of power behind it, and you have to keep in mind, if you want to sound like him, you have to have this sort of sharp tongue and sort of an attitude behind your voice. Now this might be because the punk movement was going on in the late 70s when Costello was releasing material, and punk rock has sort of this pure aggression sort of behind it, but Costello had a more intellectual disgust with the world. So if you can kind of keep that in mind, you can sort of bring out that same sort of vocal delivery that Costello was famous for. Tip number 3, instrumentation. Elvis Costello, obviously he's on vocals and guitar, but the Attractions were his backing band, and they consisted of Steve Naive, who played the keyboards and the organ, really held the group together, and along with Bruce Thomas, who played the bass with the band, and Pete Thomas played the drums with the band. So if you want to sound like Elvis Costello and the Attractions, you're gonna need these 5 essential things: vocal, guitar, keyboard, bass, and drums. That will get you going. Tip number 4, their musical productions. One thing I noticed while listening to Elvis Costello and his band was that anything that they recorded, they could perform it live. Now this is very unlike overproduced bands like, say, Sgt. Pepper's by the Beatles, for example. Those 4 Beatles could never, ever play that whole album in a live setting just with 4 people. They would need like 100 different people with all sorts of weird sound effects pads and stuff like that. But Elvis Costello and the Attractions could play everything that they recorded. It's very easy to go overboard and add all sorts of sound effects and different instruments, but they kept it together. They kept it simple. Tip number 5, instrument separation. This is one of the most crucially important things I learned while listening to Elvis Costello, was that each instrument was like independent of each other, but they all came together to serve the song. Now, I want to give you an example called I Don't Want to Go to Chelsea, which is on this album, This Year's Model. Brilliant song. The drums come in, boom, 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 boom. And then that is totally different from the guitar riff, which is like, it's totally different. And then the bass is playing something else, which is like, and then the keyboards come in with a, it's like, wait, I didn't even notice this before. It just sounded really cool as a song. It was kind of different. But when I dissected them and figured out what each instrument was doing, I was like, oh, they're playing totally different rhythms, totally different notes, but they're all coming together in this like really cool song. So if you have time, check out the song I Don't Want to Go to Chelsea. So with these 5 songwriting ideas, lyrics, vocal delivery, instrumentation, music production, and instrument separation, I tried to write my own original song that sounded a little bit like Elvis Costello. I learned a lot in the process, and here is my brand new original song in the style of Costello called Money to Burn. Please enjoy the following. I was drowning in my debt, smoking stupid cigarettes. I was searching under cushions for coins. I was busking on the streets, trying to make enough to eat. 7 roommates made a lot of noise. I was saving up my money for a new set of sneakers, 'cause the super glue was saving my soul. I was walking up and down every tourist-driven town, trying to dig myself up out of this hole. Oh, I don't need much to get me where I'm going. I just spend a little less than I earn. I'm loving what I'm doing, so I'm never really working. I just never have the money to burn. Yeah. At the bar, started reaching for the stars. I wasn't paying back the money I owed. Started cooking up my food, found my peace in solitude. Bought a car so I could hit the road. I was saving up my money for a new set of speakers, so that you could hear me pouring my soul. I'll be playing up and down every tourist-driven town. I'll be preaching up the rock and roll. Oh, no, I don't need much to get me where I'm going. I just spend a little less than I earn. I'm loving what I'm doing, so I'm never really working. I just never have the money to burn. Yeah. Well, it's not what you make, it's all that you can say. Don't let it break you on your rainy day. I don't need much to get me where I'm going. I just spend a little less than I earn. Yeah, I'm loving what I'm doing, so I'm never really working. I just never have the money to burn. I know you don't need much to get you where you're going. You just spend a little less than you earn. If you're loving what you're doing, then you're never really working. You just never have the money to burn. Yeah. Hey, thanks for listening to my brand new original song, Money to Burn. It's available on my album Earth over at benaaronmusic.com. Well, today I hope you learned a little bit about Elvis Costello, and maybe I inspired you to create your own original song. Please like this video if you liked it, and subscribe for more songwriting tips, because next week I'm going to try to do U2. I have a pretty good idea of what I'm going to do there. And don't forget to leave a comment for me to sing like these beautiful comments from last week's video. Gorillas great like the rap, past the bananas. I love the chill way you sing this. That rap verse is outstanding. I think we got a hit song here. Could you do U2 next? That effect you got scratching the bass strings was cool. I enjoyed the song and the style, Gorillas. Fantastic as always been, absolutely outstanding. You blew this old country boy's mind.